Alex here with a high conflict child custody case on extracurriculars. What I'm talking about here is the like enrolling the children in extracurricular activities. You know, things like soccer, karate, clubs at school, stuff like that. The first thing I just wanted to mention really quickly, just to get it out of the way, is you can't use extracurriculars to deprive the other parent of visitation. I have not seen a case yet where a judge said, yeah, you deprived your ex of visitation, but since it was because of them having to go to gymnastics, that's okay. I've never seen that. In fact, I've heard a bunch of examples of people telling me from both sides that somebody didn't let their ex see their kids because of some extracurricular, and they got held in contempt of court, or it was used against them in a child custody modification. This excuse is one of the most common, and from what I've seen, the judges are pretty awesome, at least in Nevada, about not letting it fly. Some judges even put it into the decree or the child custody order at the very beginning. They just right away, they've seen it so often that they just put it right in the order because it annoys the crap out of the court. So that now that that's out of the way, I can get into the actual serious issue, which is that this is one of the things that is really hard to find a perfect solution for people that are going through a high conflict case. I will say this, if you're not in a high conflict child custody case and your ex and you are coordinating on extracurriculars, you don't really need this video. You're working everything out, you're taking the kids to soccer when they're supposed to go, you're going to the games together. Maybe you don't get along, but you're making it work and the kids are going and it's manageable. It's great. You don't have to watch this video. This advice isn't going to be useful to you at all. Just keep on doing what you're doing. For everyone else who's in a high conflict child custody case where their ex is exploiting every possible thing that they possibly can to make your life a living hell, watch on. I do want to mention that this video is basically rooted in the same ideas that I've mentioned in the videos right of first refusal and the other video, religion. In those two videos, I describe how a high conflict ex will take something that seems benign or seems beneficial to the children, exploit it, turn it into a weapon, and next thing you know, you're either getting a bunch of emails and text messages yelling at you or harassing you, or you're getting contempt of court motions thrown your way. So that's basically the same sort of way that I look at this issue in this video here. I can't say, like I did in right of refusal, to just not do it, because that does hurt the kids. The kids need to do extracurriculars, even if it's just one thing. It's really beneficial to any child to have one thing, one big activity, maybe two, that they can go and enjoy themselves, make friends, compete with other kids and stuff. You just can't opt out of this because it's just not what's best for the kids. So what it comes down to is figuring out how to manage it in a way that your ex isn't going to drive you crazy or make the family look like I don't know what phrase I've used before, but like the family with issues. That's another thing that my ex used to do, is she would cause scenes and act ridiculous or obnoxious in front of other people, and everyone would look at us like the family with issues. That really sucks, and it really embarrasses the child, especially as the child starts to get older. So a lot of times what happens when people don't know how to litigate is they just stop going. Or they just give in and just let their ex control it. Or they just don't even bother setting it up because their ex won't take the kids at all, just to spite them. So they just don't even enroll the kids because they're going to look like the family with issues because the kid's not showing up to practices and games. So there's two ways that you can approach this. And I think you should sort of use both because different judges feel differently about it. Some judges will modify custody. If you try and get the child involved in a sport and you're reasonable about it, you're not doing something obnoxious like scheduling it during their custody time. Okay, sorry, usually these things will go and overlap over both people's custody times, so maybe that's not the best way. Scheduling it during their work hours or scheduling it at a weird time that for some reason or another they can't go to, or that they can't really facilitate. And of course, the answer here isn't offering to do it yourself in a high conflict case. I mean, a lot of people will say, well, that's fine. I would just go pick the kids up from their house. With a high conflict case, they don't want to see you. They don't want you coming to their house. So, I mean, if you show the court that you have worked with their schedule to the best of your ability, you've communicated with them and you've sent them emails and you've asked them what their input is and what dates and times are good, and they still won't do it, some judges will make a modification of custody based on that. If it's unreasonable and the other parent doesn't have an excuse for why they're just not willing to take the kid to the event. Some judges will modify custody. A lot of them won't though. A lot of them will just enter some kind of order saying that the other parent has to take the kids. Well, this doesn't help unless the order is done in a very specific way. So I'm not saying that the initial method of modifying custody is bad. You should definitely look into that. You should definitely plan for that. You should definitely move in that direction if you can build a good enough case that you can modify custody based on your ex not participating in extracurriculars or facilitating facilitating transportation to extracurriculars and stuff. But you're also going to want to pay attention to the other front, which is the behavioral order or the order requiring you guys to sort of participate. You want this order to be specific, and you want this order to be specific in a very specific way. Yes, you want the order to order both sides to facilitate transportation to the event. But that's not, honestly, in my opinion, it's not enough. You should also, and I hate to say this, you should also ask the order to specifically state that you guys take turns going to these events, to these practices, and to these, like if there's a game or something. And the reason I say that is because with a high conflict ex, and again, if your ex is not insane or doing ridiculous things when they're in your presence, then by all means, just ignore this whole video. But with a high conflict ex, you don't want to go and be anywhere near them. It sucks to have to say this, but if I could just download what happened in my case to everyone else, and some of the people here who are going through it already realize it because they've gone through it at doctor's appointments and at school appointments and stuff like that. They find a way to, even if it's not like in your face explosive, they find a way to sort of insert little microaggressions. Ask your child, oh, daddy didn't do this, or mommy isn't taking you, or where's the shoes that I bought you. They find ways to just sort of poke and prod at you, stick the finger in your eye, and it just irritate you. And it's not like other people don't notice. Other people notice there's something wrong. Like one time my ex was talking to a teacher about all of her 3 different boyfriends that she had the last month, and the teacher was like, why is she talking about this? We're supposed to be talking about this child's like educational needs. So other people notice, and you come off as this weird, messed up family, and the child, like my son, he'd get kind of awkward. He'd know, he would know people are looking at him like, poor kid, oh, I feel bad for you that your parents are weird. So that's just the softest result. I did have other situations. They weren't every single situation, but like yelling matches and stuff, or being confronted at appointments, that stuff came up too. It wasn't every single time, but I mean, you don't really know when it's going to happen. And so it's anxiety inducing. If your ex only has a blowout 1 out of 4 times, it doesn't mean you're going to be peaceful the other 3 times. You're going to be sort of on your toes. You're going to be walking on eggshells those other 3 times because you don't know if that's going to be the time that they go, ballistic or bananas in front of all these people. So I really recommend that you ask the court to enter some kind of order that either has you guys take turns going to these extracurriculars, or in the alternative, that you sort of just go to any extracurriculars that are on your time, and they go to any extracurriculars that are on their time. That might not work because based on how the extracurricular works, it might be seen as unfair. I don't know, games might always fall on one person's schedule and not the other, whatever, I don't know. But try to make it so that both of you aren't there at the same time. High conflict cases are their own animal. I know I've said this twice before, but I really want to repeat for the 3rd time. If you and your ex are able to go to appointments and everything is hunky-dory, maybe you hate each other, but you get along in front of other people, and there's not weird things going on, just please disregard this video. You don't have to blow up the comments and say that it doesn't make sense to you, because this video isn't for people who are not in a high conflict case where just the insanity and the anxiety of being near the other person is just through the roof because of what happens when you're around them and what they do. And anyway, I don't need to repeat everything again. This is a tough video. I really hope that some people here who can relate, because I feel like not all the people on the channel are on the extreme end of the high conflict child custody. I think a lot of people are struggling, trying to learn the process. They're dealing with an opponent's lawyer who's being unfair, but not a lot of people are dealing with an ex who's so high conflict that you can't even be around them at a soccer game. And it is that bad. There are situations that are that bad. And if the court doesn't intervene, what ends up happening is that one person just doesn't even bother. They just stop going because it just makes it worse. And that's not like, it's not fair to the child, because both parents should get to sort of see the child at their extracurricular. It's a bonding moment. It's a special time. And to just not go because your ex is ridiculous in front of other people and they're not as bad when you're not there, to just not go, you know, it's a sad, I don't even want to say solution, because it's not a solution. It's just giving up. So, I mean, any judge who has an issue with this, they might be really new. But, I mean, if you sort of explain it to the court in the way that I explained it, that I'm not just trying to take my ex out of the, I'm not just trying to deprive my ex of going to visits. I'm willing to also forego going to, you know, certain extracurriculars. That sort of sends the message that you're not being spiteful, that you have a sad solution, but that it's fair. And hopefully the court will take you seriously when you present it that way. You know, it's sad, Your Honor, that we both can't really go to all these soccer games, but I'm really urging you to not do this, because what's going to end up happening is you can explain what you think is going to happen, and to just please make it so that one of us goes and we just take turns, or that we each go during our own time, because it's just not working out. This case is too high conflict. If you explain it in that way, and that you're willing, if you're not going in there saying, my ex is high conflict, so I don't want them to go to any freaking soccer games, that's not going to look good. Good luck proving it. You may be able to prove it. It might be possible. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just going to be a big hurdle, because you're going to actually probably have to present testimony and evidence of some kind. If you can do that, by all means, do it. But really, or the court might want to take the initial step of first, let's just do this first and see how it goes. Let's just have you guys only go during your scheduled visitation to whatever particular soccer game or practice that's going on. And then later on, if you need to come back to court again for a second time, because maybe your ex is showing up during, maybe they're violating the court order and they're trying to show up during your games and such, or maybe they're just spiteful and they're like, you know what, if I'm not gonna get to go during his days, fine, I'm not gonna take the child at all. Maybe they're being spiteful. Then you can go back to court a second time and you can deal with it then in a different way. Maybe try to modify custody or something like that. But I don't know, I kind of feel like I'm beating a dead horse here. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and end this video. If anyone wants to post something in the comments below about having this issue in their case, where the extracurriculars are just, it's a living nightmare because of whatever's going on in their case, go ahead and post in the comments below, because people need to see that this is a serious thing. In high conflict cases, people need to see that this does happen, that this can turn into a nightmare. So please post in the comments below, share, because I don't want it to just seem like, I know a lot of people don't want to share because they don't want their ex to find them on social media and use it against them in court. But if you're in a situation where you can share because they're using a different name and your ex doesn't know what your account is, post it in the comments below. Let people see that they're not alone, that this is happening to you too, and that the solutions in this video make sense. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and end this video, and I'll see you guys next time.